How to make delicious homemade pizza from scratch. Hey there, pizza lovers! Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the best things in life, making pizza from scratch. No more frozen, store-bought stuff. We're talking about that golden, crispy crust, bubbling cheese, and all your favorite toppings, all made right in your own kitchen. So grab your apron and let's get ready to have some pizza fun. All right, first things first. Let's take a look at what you need for this delicious pizza. Don't worry, we're keeping it simple. You'll need flour, yeast, warm water, a little olive oil, salt, sugar, and of course, some awesome toppings like mozzarella cheese, tomato sauce, pepperoni, veggies, or whatever your heart desires. The beauty of pizza is that it's totally customizable. The only limit is your imagination. You could go classic, like a margarita, or get crazy with barbecue chicken, pineapple, or even ranch dressing. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we make the dough. So, let's start with the dough. You want that perfect, chewy, crispy base, right? Of course you do. A pizza is only as good as its foundation, so it's super important to get this part right. So grab a bowl, and in goes your warm water. Now, here's the trick. It should be just a little warmer than your body temperature, kind of like a warm hug for your hands. You don't want it too hot, or you'll kill the yeast. A perfect warm bath is what we're going for. Add in the yeast and sprinkle a bit of sugar on top. Yeast loves sugar. It's like a little energy boost for our dough. Give it a little stir, then let it sit for about 5 minutes. You'll start to see it bubble and froth. That's the yeast waking up and getting excited to do its job. And let me tell you, it's ready to party. Now, it's time to add the flour. Start with about 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I like to measure mine by volume, but feel free to weigh it out if you're precise. Add a pinch of salt to the flour, and then pour the yeast mixture in. Give it a little stir to bring everything together. Once it starts to look doughy, it's time to get your hands in there. Start kneading. This is the part where it gets fun. Kneading helps develop the gluten in the flour, which gives the dough that chewy texture we all love. So go ahead, knead it for about 5 to 7 minutes. If you've never kneaded dough before, think of it like giving your pizza a little massage. You'll know it's ready when it's smooth, elastic, and slightly tacky but not sticky. If it's too sticky, sprinkle a little more flour on it. Once your dough is nice and smooth, shape it into a ball. Now, cover it with a clean kitchen towel or plastic wrap and let it rest for about an hour. This is when the magic happens. The dough will rise, double in size, and get all fluffy. So, while you're waiting, you have a little time to think about your pizza toppings. The best part of making pizza at home is getting to go wild with your choices. Are you going classic with just mozzarella and tomato? Or are you a fan of all things bold like spicy sausage, mushrooms, and maybe a drizzle of hot honey? Get creative! The possibilities are endless. All right, the dough is done resting, and it's time to punch it down. Yes, you heard me right. Punch it. But don't go overboard. Just give it a light tap or press down with your fingers to release the air bubbles that have formed. We want a nice, smooth dough that will rise up again in the oven, not a dough that's too airy. Once that's done, give it a quick knead for a minute or two, and then it's time to shape it into the perfect pizza base. Now, it's time to roll. You can either roll it out with a rolling pin or stretch it by hand if you're feeling confident. I like to stretch my dough out with my hands, working from the center out toward the edges. You don't want it too thick or too thin. Aim for about 1 4-inch thickness. Don't worry if it's not perfectly round. Pizza's all about the love you put into it. A rustic shape adds character, right? Now that your dough is ready, let's talk about the sauce. The pizza sauce is the second most important thing, after the dough, of course. You can use store-bought sauce if you're in a rush, but I always recommend making your own. It's simple. Just blend some canned tomatoes with a bit of olive oil, garlic, salt, and maybe a pinch of dried oregano or basil. If you want to get really fancy, simmer it for a bit to let the flavors melt. But even a quick 5-minute sauce will do the trick and taste way better than anything from a jar. Spread a generous layer of tomato sauce onto your dough. Be sure to leave a border around the edges so the crust can puff up nicely in the oven. Now comes the fun part, the cheese. The mozzarella is the star of the show. Go ahead and sprinkle it generously over the sauce. Don't be shy, and if you like a little extra flavor, toss some grated Parmesan or sharp cheddar on top too. Mix it up and get cheesy with it. The more cheese, the better. Now it's time to top your pizza with whatever you like. Personally, I'm a fan of classic pepperoni, but feel free to get wild. Maybe some fresh basil leaves, mushrooms, bell peppers, onions, or even olives. The choice is yours. I love adding a bit of cooked sausage for some extra savory goodness. Or if you're feeling adventurous, try a drizzle of balsamic glaze after baking for a sweet and tangy twist. Okay, now that your pizza is beautifully topped, let's bake it. Preheat your oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit, 245 degrees Celsius. You want it hot, like really hot, so your pizza gets that perfect crispy crust. Place your pizza on a baking sheet or a pizza stone if you've got one. A stone will give you that pizzeria-style crust, but a baking sheet works just fine if you don't have one. Pop your pizza into the oven and bake it for 10 to 12 minutes, or until the crust is golden and the cheese is bubbly and slightly browned. Oh, you'll know when it's done. The smell will take over your kitchen and have your mouth watering. Once your pizza's out of the oven, let it cool for a minute or two. I know it's tempting to slice right away, but trust me, you don't want to burn your mouth on molten cheese. Give it a minute. Then, slice it up and take that first glorious bite. Look at that crispy crust, that gooey cheese. It's pizza perfection. Don't forget to add a sprinkle of fresh herbs or a dash of crushed red pepper flakes if you like a little kick. And there you have it. You've just made a homemade pizza from scratch, and trust me, it's so worth it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, pizza makers. I hope you had as much fun making this pizza as I did. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your pizza creations with us. I'd love to see what you made. Until next time, stay cheesy and keep baking.